right, so Quake Champions closed beta. It's the NDA is lifted. People have been playing it, posting about it, streaming it. I have played a little bit. I've played some matches just to get a feel for the game. I even downloaded the Bethesda launcher for this. More on that in a second. So I played a little bit. You start with one character. You start with Ranger, and I think that this was kind of a problem for me at first. The first few matches I played, I didn't particularly care for Ranger, and so when I tried another character, I found myself enjoying the game a little bit more. Even though I think that probably, out of all the different champions, there's only going to be slight differences, but sometimes that slight difference can make a big difference in how you enjoy the game. I then used some of the currency, the in-game currency that you earn from playing, to buy 24-hour access to Slash, the Roller Queen. And I just kind of picked a character out of the hat, honestly. There's a number to choose from. You only get access to one without either buying or essentially renting a character. I really liked Slash a lot more than Ranger. And partly this was just, I liked her speed, and I liked how she used this plasma trail power, which is pretty cool. Basically, you run, and when you use this plasma trail, it leaves the trail behind you. Any bad guys and any of the other team that cross through the trail get sustained damage. But then if you press F again, your trail explodes, and so it's like a long trail of grenades, basically. And it's a great way what works for me really well is, let's say I'm going at a bad guy and I'm shooting and they're shooting at me, and I can activate this and run past them. Inevitably, they're going to run past me right onto my trail, and then boom, I blow it up. And sometimes you can get more than one guy this way. So that's really fun. I like that power. And, I'm going to have to try out all the other characters as well to see, how their powers all work. So I've only tried 2 so far. And I like both the special powers, but I like Plasma. I want to call her Plasma Girl or Roller Girl, but Slash, I guess, is her name. And I like her power better. And I had a great round here in this video. I mean, I'm not very good at this game. I've hardly played it. It's been a long time since I played the old school Quake games, and really any arena shooters at all. So I like that about it. The maps, there's a couple maps in the beta to choose from, and they're all right. There's some good sniping areas in this video. The other one is a little less close quarters, a little more open. I can't tell you how the game is balanced just yet. I have not played enough to really get a sense if any of these characters are really overpowered compared to other ones. The fact that it is a hero arena shooter isn't... I mean, it changes the game a little bit. Every character has one power, and then they all have different speed and, to some degree, different armor and health. But it's not a ton... the differences between the characters don't seem too great. You can still take down a heavier character pretty quickly with a shotgun. You can still, even the slower characters move pretty quickly. So the differences in characters are nowhere near something like, say, Overwatch, which has, different guns, multiple powers for each hero. So basically, from between Junkrat, Roadhog, and Soldier 76 or Mercy, of just vastly different playstyles. Whereas in Quake Champions, everyone plays pretty close to the same, with the exception of this power and slightly different stats. And then, of course, there's the aesthetics. And aesthetics is where, a lot of the microtransactions for the game come in. And here's where I'm definitely really skeptical of Quake Champions as opposed to Overwatch, say. In Overwatch, you can buy the game, and you have all the characters, and then you just earn loot boxes, and it doesn't really matter if you have the skins or not, unless you're kind of obsessed about that, which many of us are. So, to be fair, that does still matter. But you have every single hero and every single map, and there's nothing gated off except for skins and emotes and things like that. Whereas in Quake Champions, if you don't if you don't buy the characters, you can only essentially rent them from just playing the game. You can't earn enough currency to purchase a character permanently without spending money. So you can rent them, and that's great. But like, if I'm gonna keep playing Quake Champions, I'm basically gonna have to buy all the heroes. I'm not gonna just play with Ranger the whole time. And you could, but I don't think it would be as fun. For instance, I had a lot more fun with Plasma Roller Girl / than I did with Ranger. So basically, you have to buy something with this free-to-play game. That's fine. That's what they're trying to get your money and all. But I would rather just have a game where I could just lay down $20, $30, boom, I got the game. Right now, I played the deathmatch, team deathmatch, and the soul sacrifice, whatever that mode is, where you have to capture the soul, and then there's points, and it's actually kind of a confusing mode. I didn't play it much because I didn't really enjoy it much. I'd rather just capture control points like A, B, and C, like in a Destiny or a Call of Duty, or a straight up capture the flag where you run it home. I get that this is probably a mode that's trying to be creative, but it's just not quite for me. In terms of gameplay and gunplay, this is pretty much exactly what you'd expect. You move very fast. You choose between a wide range of weapons like railguns, shotguns, machine guns. You've got your various powers for each champion. It's a bloody, chaotic affair. And you know what? It just feels very much like an old Quake game, plus the heroes. Now, whether that's enough to really make this game stand out is kind of a big question. Because, after a few rounds, in which I had fun, I pretty much was already kind of itching to go back to something a little more modern. And that may just be personal bias. That may just be what I enjoy. But at the same time, I have a sort of nagging skepticism about the constant nostalgia-based game design that we're encountering. Now, this is not just in regards to shooters, like arena shooters, but that is a big part of it. What draws people to a new game? To some degree, it's newness. And something like Doom, the new Doom, while it harkens back to the older Dooms, also does a lot of new things and feels very fresh. Here we have a game that feels very old school and is trying to do a few things new, but still plays so much like the old Quake games and Unreal Tournament and then games like that I feel like, other than hardcore arena shooter fans, this may be a game that you kind of dip into and then walk away from, especially because if you feel like you have to buy these characters, that may not be something it may not be a game that a lot of gamers feel invested enough in, because it's just not that fresh. And I see people moving on, going back to Destiny, Overwatch, Counter-Strike Go, etc. So, we'll see. I've not played all the characters. I get the feeling that it's not going to make a huge difference. And once you find like a character or two you like, you're probably going to stick with them a bunch, especially since you have to buy them. And I, with other maps and whatnot, I may like the game more. But as it stands, I'm kind of, I had fun, but I didn't have enough fun to go crazy and feel really excited about this game. I certainly don't feel like I did when I first started playing Overwatch. At that point, it was kind of like a modern Team Fortress 2 in all its splendor, and that was wonderful. If Quake could, if this felt like as innovative and new and fresh a take on the arena shooter as Overwatch did on the hero shooter, that would be one thing. But as it stands, it's just not quite there, and that alongside the free-to-play revenue model is not particularly inspiring. And then finally, the UI and the menus are just kind of a mess. I just find myself getting a little overwhelmed and lost trying to navigate everything. And this is a game that is surprising number of games have, where you'd think that just a little love and tender care to go into the UI would just make the user experience so much better, but instead we get kind of lost in all these menus and options, and to make matters worse, it's a closed beta, so some stuff just isn't even available, and then on top of that, want to just pile on everything, you also have to use the Bethesda launcher to get this game to work in the first place. So now, any any poor sap who still plays PC games is probably going to have Steam, the Origin, Uplay, a friggin' Bethesda launcher, maybe, you know, GOG Galaxy, and the list of third-party launchers just goes on and on and on. And then, of course, if you play MMOs, there's a whole another bag of worms there. It's hard to just even keep track of all the different usernames, passwords, processes, etc. And you know, it's kind of silly. This really should just be a game on Steam. I see no utility in having this run through the Bethesda launcher. Yeah, that's my first impressions. I would say that I had fun, but I am dubious. I am dubious that this will be a huge and popular hit that will make huge waves in the esports community, that will be a sort of long-lasting title, but I could be wrong. Let me know what you think if you played the beta at all. Thanks for watching. Peace.
1 minute warning.
Seriously, piss off, bozo!
Quad spawn, 15 seconds.